Yo, what's up, everybody? Hope everybody's having an amazing weekend. We're gonna go get started in the next 30 seconds. I do want to make sure that everybody is on the session. If you're watching this from YouTube, well, welcome to our crypto and assets here within Powerhouse University. If it's your first time here, just know that we're going to be going through crypto, we're going to be going through assets, we're going to be going through the markets as a whole. So make sure to have a pen and paper, understand what's going on, and get ahead in what's to come as well. So go ahead and let people know. If you're in Powerhouse, go ahead and let people know in the chats. If you're here on YouTube, you're more than free to share this with people that you want to share this information with, and at the same time get them educated. So we're gonna start in the next 30 seconds and get things going. Yo, what's up, everybody? We're going to go ahead and get started on today's session. It's not too late if you want to reach out and share the link to this YouTube. But I'm excited because there's definitely a lot going on in the world right now, which there's some updates I want to give you guys on. Number one, obviously, what's going on. Usually, these sessions are every single Saturday. If you don't know, usually it's myself and my brother, John Luke. He ran the session last week, actually. If you didn't tune into that, you can obviously watch the recording. But today is just going to be myself. Right now we're actually going on tour in different cities. I was out there in North Carolina. John Luke right now is out there in North Cali. So we've been able to swap when it comes to taking these sessions, and then next week we'll be back together. And we actually have a curriculum and a training that we'll be going through starting tomorrow. Oh, not tomorrow, next week, together as a unit. And I'm excited because our vision is to really bring a lot of this information on the weekend, but at the same time, bring awareness of what's going on and how to get ahead in these markets for either our students or people just checking us out to get more of an idea of what the markets can look like, what happens, and how it actually mattered on a day-to-day life as well. So as y'all know, we start every single session with what's going on in crypto. This is something that we like to set a foundation to give a kind of update in the last 7 days on what's going on. So there's a couple of things I want to go through. And this is kind of when you want to jot down notes or just, put it on the side note, whatever it is. But a couple of things. Number one is that Bitcoin volatility has returns. We had a jump in the market, and I'm going to talk about it. It touched around 72, 74, and then it dropped. And I'm actually going to talk about my point of view on that. Something that I talked about 2 weeks ago when I was on this as well, on what that maybe could mean. The second thing that I was able to see is that there's been massive institutional money flowing into crypto ETFs. That's something that in the back end is happening, and I think it's what surged the jump. At the same time, there was obviously sellers in the market looking to take profit. So there's a lot of volatility. I would say not crazy, but more volatility than there's been in the last couple of weeks. And there's a sign of institution money. And one thing I've learned is this: when institution money comes into the market, it's actually very quiet. When you see certain things happen, it's already after the institutions are in. And that's something that we're looking to as well. Another thing is that the altcoin market has been showing weakness. It's not been as volatile, for example, as the other ones, the bigger ones. And that can mean a couple of things, and we'll go through it. At the same time, we've seen some XRP and ETH strength. with a little bit of the push that Bitcoin had, which wasn't really crazy, but we saw some strength and some interest about it, which is something that I'll talk about as well. But it's something to realize that, and this will be kind of the segment today, is that when markets are at a point where they're at now and they're looking to get to that next stage, it's always you want to keep your eyes on, what the big players are doing, right? Now I have my own beliefs on how the market is shifting in my perspective and how things are changing, but at the same time, the ones like XRP, Ethereum, specifically Ethereum and Bitcoin, were the ones with the lasting test of time and the ones that have been able to already have, reps in history. A lot of these institutions is the first thing they're looking at. So that's something that's very important to understand and have a perspective about. And then the last thing, and this is what I think has kind of a little bit of changed crypto, but also adapted it, is that crypto is now heavily connected to the global economy. I have a big, perspective and something I've learned with like our educators like Mike Sotero and Patrick Kenny. And I've came to realize that the more institution money comes into crypto, that means the more crypto is going to be like the normal markets that we're used to, meaning there's a lot of manipulation and there's a lot of dependence on the global economy. And that's something to really keep your eye on. And remember, one thing that we say here all the time is you always want to buy the rumor, sell the news. When there's fear in the world, most of the time that's where opportunity lies. And when there's greed in the world and greed in the economy, that actually might be a good time to take profit. So a little bit of the opposite of what we're used to. But those are the things that I wanted to cover when it comes to the news, or kind of just what's going on, right? What happened in the last 7 days? Obviously, everything with Iran has happened as well with the war, and that kind of segments with that could have affected or can affect continuing the global economy as well. And understanding that is the different perspective of the markets, right? Us as an average person, we just look at things how it's happening, right? War, this, why, X, Y, and Z. But there's a different perspective on how institutions are playing the game, how big corporations are playing the game. The reality is this: you always got to ask yourself, where is the money? Where is the opportunity? And we'll go through that some stuff. So go ahead, let me know. I have the YouTube here on the other screen I have as well. Let me know in the chat box. Number one, where you're tuning in from. Okay, let me know where you're tuning in from. And also, that lets me know if you can hear me. I didn't even ask, but I know we have a little lag. So let me know in the chat box where you're tuning in from. I'm out here in Dallas, for the ones out here in Texas. I know we have really people from everywhere. So let me know in the chat box while I go into the charts. Where are you tuning in from? Okay, where are you tuning in from? Now, before I actually go into the charts, I did want to do this real quick. Okay. Something that I've been bringing up almost on every session is kind of like the overall where the markets are. Okay. One thing I've realized, and this is interesting, this is why I think that the markets are changing. And that's something that that's why I'm really big about continual education. A lot of people think that once you learn the skill once, you got it. And that's a myth. It's a myth that I personally believe as well. And it's a myth because there's no industry where you learn once and you got it. No industry, there's no industry that exists. There's always transformation. There's always growth. Mostly when it deals with technology, and technology shifts every industry, there's adapting needing to happen. So right now, one thing that I saw with Bitcoin, okay, is we saw that January and February both were red months. Now, as you can see in the chart, literally since 2013, I don't even know before here because it doesn't have it, but from 2013 to 2026 or 2025, there's never been a time where January and February were both red, right? You see that. Now, what does that mean? I personally believe that means there's a little shift with some things, but at the same time, I also think the timing could be changed, because one thing that we have seen in the past, and this is interesting because for the first time ever, the first time ever, we've seen 5 continual months in red for Bitcoin. Okay. Now, I also have I wouldn't even say a theory. I would say more of a confirmation, is that the more money that comes into these markets, the slower it actually is going to move, right? The reason why crypto is more volatile than the stock market is because there's less money in it. More money comes into the market, makes it a little bit less volatile, right? Think about the S&P, right? Think about the NAS 100. Think about, the US 30, right? Even though they're volatile, they're less volatile than Bitcoin. And that's why sometimes people are afraid of Bitcoin and crypto, because of volatility. not understanding that all it means is that there's less money in that marketplace, which means more opportunity, but also can be more of a hurdle, right? It can mean more of a hit on it. But I think we're changing that, and that is changing and directing into different markets as a whole. But that's something I wanted to bring up. Okay. Now, when we look at Ethereum, for example, okay, Ethereum, same thing. We've had Q4 and Q1. Q1 hasn't ended yet, by the way. But so far, Q4 and Q1 also in reds. So I really believe, and this is something I've been saying for a while now. It's interesting because we don't see it like a bear market. We don't see it like the bottom because of it's just different perspective, right? Like we're used to Bitcoin reducing like 90%. And that's something I'll bring on the charts. I'm going to be very on the charts. I love to be on the charts. It's kind of like my main thing. So you guys are going to see a lot of that. But in the history of Bitcoin, even just looking at the last run, we saw a decrease of 77%. Okay. Today, we're looking at Bitcoin and we are down 46 at the max, 50%. Okay. So the interesting thing is this there's a lot of fear in the market, but we've only reduced 50% when we're used to 70%. Now that aligns with my theory and my understanding with my knowledge and my education that I've had from the educators. I've been in the game for a decade. Is that Bitcoin, every single dump, it's going to be less and less and less and less, right? Before 2020, it was around like 90%. Then it was 71. Then now we're like at 51. Do I think the bottom is in? To an extent, yes. Now, could there be lower prices? Yes. And I'll talk about that. But I personally believe it's a very interesting time because there is fear in the market, but at the same time, I don't. It's an interesting type of fear because the fear that we had, fam. If you guys were not here, but the fear that we had here was so insane. Like I remember this was my first bear market here, and I remember these times, right? Actually, this candle right here represented the collapse of FTX, which was an exchange in the US. Imagine a US exchange goes it breaks apart, it dissolves. And people have money in there and then now have to wait years to get it back, whatever it is, right? They go bankrupt. That is what caused this. Now, this at this point, this was probably like the most fear I've seen in crypto ever. Because you're talking about a crypto that went from 60K to 16K. It's kind of wild, right? But today we have quote unquote the same fear, but it hasn't been as heavy as what we've seen in the past. So that's what I'm trying to say, that now that institutional money is in the markets, the fear is not going to be the same fear that it used to be. For example, there's fear in NAS 100. There's fear in SPX. When it decreases like 5%, like if right now SPX, just to give you guys perspective, right, is down 3%, and there's fear in the market. If SPX go down to 7%, that is very scary in the market. To give you guys a perspective, March of 2025, we saw a big decrease. This was 16%, guys. This was a very fearful moment in the market. Only 16%. That's where I think crypto is going to transition into, because now we have institutional players. So let's compare this to even COVID. COVID was 35% retracement. That was one of the biggest collapse since probably the 2008 crash, and it was 35%. Now I'm giving you guys that perspective because the more money there's in there, that means like the rejections aren't as heavy because obviously, just the numbers. So that's kind of where I see Bitcoin right now. Okay. I personally, I do like that Bitcoin is just staying there. One thing I didn't want to see, and I'm going to talk about Bitcoin because Bitcoin directs a lot of things. And I'm going to talk about my perspective on different things. But I like the fact that Bitcoin has been here. So if you're investing in crypto, which that's what the sessions are about, by the way, investing in crypto, investing in stocks, investing in commodities, maybe, or just any asset, you want to see an asset kind of like mostly like Bitcoin and crypto as a whole. It likes to be consolidating at a accumulation, area. and it also distributes at a high, or sometimes the dumps are quicker than the accumulations. That's something that we've just seen. And I wanted to see this. I've been wanting to see Bitcoin stay here. One thing I didn't want to see personally is I didn't want to see this. Because if we would have done a quick down and a quick up, I personally think this just would have been more of a reason for it to decrease. And there's something else that just happened as well. As I told you guys that we had a quick little pump, right? We had a quick little pump. And shout out to you guys. We got Spokane, we got Dodge City, Kansas. Okay, we got Kansas. All right. We got Fort Worth. Amazing. Okay, amazing. Appreciate y'all. So we saw a pump to like 74, right? So like maybe like 18%. Now, one thing I stated on the last session is I wanted to see the break of this, right? Because this is called a break of structure. The market is going down, creating lower lows, lower highs, and it consolidated. I wanted to see this break. But one thing I don't like what I'm seeing is that the retracement came quick. It didn't stay above. That's one thing I said on the last session. I wanted this market to stay above because this is the reason why I say this. When a market actually breaks structure, it stays above. It holds. And then it decreases, comes back. And then you want to see the rejection up. When something like this happens, when the market just does consolidation, take out and come down, this is just a take of money. Sellers here, right? Market pumped, market came down. So all it was a liquidation. And personally, because of this happening, I personally can see crypto coming back and creating what we call like a spring. If you don't know what Wyckoff is or anything like that, I would recommend watching people like Siva on the platform on Zinryan, the community that we have, by the way, which is very informative. He talks about schematics, accumulation, distribution, stuff like that. But I want to see this, okay? I want to see this, and I'm going to show you guys this real quick, okay? It's called Wyckoff, right? I'm going to go too in depth, but I want to show you guys this because this is very key when it comes to investing. It's obviously very useful in trading, but way heavy in investing too. So this is what we call an accumulation setup, okay? Something that, again, you can study within the community. We talk about this a lot when it comes to smart money. And I personally think that the SC right here, look at this. I'm gonna use this. It's gonna be a perfect example. The SC right here, I think was here. Okay, so let's label this. Okay, then we have a rejection, right? We have an accumulation here, and then we have the push up. This, I think, is this right here. Boom, boom. Then what happens? There's an ST. There's a lower low that is a quick lower low. It doesn't stay down there. It's just like a quick one. And there's different types of schematics as well, like accumulation, distribution. This one shows, I'll show you this real quick. This one shows two breakdowns. So like, one ST and then a spring. We could create something like that. So what that looks like is like this. Okay. There's a point for all this at the end of the day, right? Can we see the market come here, break below, quickly come back, break one more time, and then keep going. Now, I don't know if I like this, like the third one. I like it happening once. I personally think that it's going to take these lows, mostly from what we just saw. I think these lows will be taken, and the market might hit under 60K. Okay. Now, what I want to see is I want to see the market not stay here. I don't want it to see it stay. If this stays here, yeah, like this is definitely going to look like that. Okay. I want to see a quick thing like this, right? This happened in what? A day, right? I want to see that, right? I want to see the market show me if it wants to do this. Quick rejection and continuation. Now, same thing. I'm waiting, and my line is going to change, I'm waiting for this to come up here and break above this, okay? I want to see this right here. I want to see this and then this. I want to see the taking out the lows and then the tops. So let me know in the chat box. Put a 5 in the chat if you're understanding this concept. This is a higher level concept, but I wanted to bring something different to the table on the way I'm looking at this. I'm just giving you my perspective on what I see, how I see it, why I see it. Doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean I'm an expert. I've been in this game 5+, 6+ years. I've been learning a lot, but at the same time, the market changes a lot. Okay. So there's things that happened in the past that are not going to happen the same thing now. But this is kind of what I'm seeing right now. Right. I want to see this happen personally. Seeing Bitcoin under 60K, I think will bring a lot of fear in the market. I think the whole war thing is going to push this down, actually. I have my own perspective. I pray for all the families, I pray for all the lives, right? But I personally believe this war is not going to be long. There's the reason why is because there's a lot of stigma about it being like a long war. When I always realize when something is shown in the media, the opposite actually happens, right? When they're talking about World War III doesn't happen. When they're talking about a pandemics don't happen. But when they're not talking about it and they're talking about the world is amazing, things are going great, economy is booming, that's when actually things come and get hit, right? So that's why I think, and with some of the educators, that it won't last a long time, but I think this movement will happen during this whole time. So it could be all of March, going into April, May, June, July, August. Now you have to keep in mind this, okay? And I'm not saying this dictates everything, but there's something going on in the summer that I think, okay, if there is war and there is a lot of conflict during this tournament, it will be the biggest L we've seen, because FIFA, and let's just look this up real quick. I just give you guys a perspective, right? FIFA World Cup value. Okay, look at this. Look at this. The 2026 World Cup is projected to be the most lucrative in history, with the total revenues expecting to exceed $10.9 billion. That is the projection. It's going to be one of the biggest, supposed to be biggest World Cup in the world. Now, there's two things I see with this. It's black and white. Either this is going to be the most profitable World Cup in history, or it's going to be the decline of FIFA. I said it. It's hard to realize, but I'm just being honest. This is the make it break it for FIFA. Now, if there's conflict in the world, guys, it kind of makes it harder. So what I'm saying is this. I'm not saying this is the reason why war won't be in the summer. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is this. It doesn't benefit. And unfortunately, I'm here to tell you the truth. Unfortunately, war is all for benefits. It's all for money. That's all it's for. Unfortunately, that's just the truth. You want to hear from me or not, you want to believe me or not, that's fine. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to agree with me. But that is the truth. Go look at the history of the war and how much money it brought in. And there's a whole thing. I'm not going to go to a rabbit hole today, but just to give you guys that perspective. So that's why I personally want to see this happening. So if you want to take a screenshot of this and keep it amazing, but this is what I want to see. I'm being very patient with my portfolio right now. I'm personally, just transparently, I'm not entering anything. I want to be patient. I realize that, I would rather listen to structure than listen to, media, or listen to, just because the market is low, I'm entering. Like, yes and no. I'm a very active investor, meaning I'm on the charts on a week-to-week basis. If you're not an active investor, fam, hey, do your thing. If you average in from 74 to 58, it's not going to matter when Bitcoin is 150, 200, 300K. But me as a trader, right? I'm a trader first, and then I became an investor. I can be more patient, right? I can look for this. I'm personally, this is the first time I've said this. I'm going to be entering Bitcoin under 60K. I haven't been accumulating Bitcoin at all, but Bitcoin under 60K is beauty. Okay. So I'm going to be waiting for that to happen and then seeing what other cryptos are going to do. Okay. Then we have things like Ethereum. Ethereum right now is looking very similar. Same thing happened, fam. And I'm showing you guys this so we can look at our portfolios. It just barely wicked above. It didn't break structure, right? I think same thing with Ethereum. Ethereum is going to come below here. Now, one thing I was looking at earlier today is, can Ethereum even go below this wick? And the reason why I say that, I'll show you guys the chart right here. There's something called a trend line that is happening. And one thing that we learn here with smart money institutions, something that we learn here in the platform and Powerhouse, the community, is smart money likes to take these type of trend lines out before it continues. Okay. So the likelihood of seeing below 1500, it's there. I'm not saying you want to wait for that, but you want to listen to structure. Okay. Listen to me. Listen to structure. Don't listen to highs and lows. Nobody could catch the bottom. Anybody who told you they caught the bottom is capping you. It's not true, right? Not many people could say that they caught this $92 right here. But guess what? People caught it here. People caught it here. People caught it here. People caught it here. And then saw this whole movement. Okay. Because the last thing you want to do, this is just my perspective, because I'm a trader first and then became an investor, is the last thing I want to do, perspective, right? Is buy here. Or I'll say this. The last thing I want to do is buy here and have to wait 2 years, a year and a half. Because realistically, my money can go elsewhere. My money can go to a trading account and do more than what it did here. But if I'm patient, okay, and I'm patient for structure, let's do this real quick. Let's go to the weekly. Okay. And I'm waiting for structure, right? This is Ethereum in 2020. And I wait for a real break of structure. And I stay patient. This whole time, I can allocate my funds elsewhere until the market is showing me a break of structure. Now, this is a good example of a break of structure. Break above and stay above. Look at this. It stayed up there for a couple weeks. And then what happened? Boom. It came back. It came back to this area. Look at that. You cannot tell me, okay, perspective. You cannot tell me this doesn't look like this. Put a 7 in the chat if this makes sense. If you agree with me. This, look at this. Boom. Spring. Look at this. First bottom. What happened? First bottom. Come above. Come above. Then what happened? Broke down. Boom. Took this all out. Same thing that this gets taken out. Boom. It skipped this. They didn't do this. It just went straight from here to here. Broke above. And what happened? Stayed above. Stayed above. And then took off. Now, this is my perspective. Okay. Yes, you could have caught this. But I would have rather be patient and waited for this than for this. Personally, this is my perspective. Because I like to listen to structure. I like to allocate my money where it's best use at that moment. Okay. And look what happened. Right? Boom. Ethereum took off. Okay. That's what I see happening here in a bigger scale, which is crazy. Same thing, bigger scale. Look at this. Same thing, bigger scale. I see a liquidation happening. Then break of structure and continuing. I'm not going to wait till here, obviously, but once I see this rejection, honestly, in this perspective, just because market's so low, I do see if ETH hits under 1,500, definitely accumulation, 100%. Even if it goes lower, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. I'm content, but I'm not going to be full porting. I'm going to be dialing in. And then what I'm going to be waiting for is taking out and a quick jump up and waiting for retracements on the smaller time frames. And I will be accumulating this whole time. And that's going to take patience, okay? And that's why it's important to understand structure. That is why it's super important to understand structure. And if you haven't learned structure trading-wise, I highly recommend it. Use this time in crypto, fam. Like, to be honest, use this time in crypto to learn structure, to mark up a chart, to trade. This is the best time to be trading right now. It is the best time to be trading and taking advantage of trading and you know, really allocating your funds into that so that when the market starts to bump up, you're accumulating, you're letting things ride, and you're even trading it on the way up as well. Okay. So that's Bitcoin, that's Ethereum. Then we have things like Solana. I like Solana lower personally. I'm going to be very patient with Solana. I have Solana, I'm holding it, but I'm just going to be holding it. You know, it is what it is. I was buying here. around $100. Okay. But I'm just gonna be patient with Solana. Okay. I personally can see Solana going lower in this area before it goes higher. So I'm gonna be very patient with here. I do like this right here. Okay, this area. And I want to see the same thing. I want to see this just in the shorter span. I don't see it, and this is the bear market. I want to let y'all know this. You're in the bear market right now. A lot of people don't think so. We are. It's funny. We don't like to accept it, but we are. But it's not going to last as much as it did before. My personal point of view. Okay. Now there's a couple sleepers that I've been talking about that I want you guys to keep your eye on. The first one is Aave. Aave is something I want you guys to start looking at. I'll talk about Jupiter as well. But Aave is a growing project that a lot of people aren't going to be looking at. Okay. I want you guys to realize this, and I've said this multiple times. Big money's in the market. Okay. I'm sorry, but the whole hype stuff is going to be out of the window. It's going to exist, but it's in its own realm. It's not going to be the same anymore because now institutions are in the market. It's not just retail. And institutions, I mean, retail hasn't even entered the market yet. It hasn't. It's only been institutions. Retail's not even in, to be honest. It barely got in meme coins and this and that. And that's what altcoins in and boom. But there's a project called Aave that I want everybody to look at. This is not an exciting project. Okay. This is a very boring project. But this is a decentralized finance project, right? They actually have an app right now. All right. Look at this. What Aave wants to become is a bank. That's what Aave is doing, right? They're like a bank, buying, lending, right? Like loans. They're giving loans, right? But they also want to become a bank where you're earning up to 9% on your savings. It's there, but it's not out yet, right? But it's crazy. Imagine having a savings account where you're earning up to 9%. And you know what's crazy? I was on Patrick Kenny's session on in Mike's on Wednesday, the Wednesday huddle, the midweek huddle. If you didn't watch it, go watch it. They talked about how banks are now competing to who's offering the higher APY. This is the highest I've seen. So they're changing the game, fam. 9% on your savings. And guess what? Your money is protected to up $1 million. The average bank is 250,000. Look at this. That's the average. So this is a very boring project, but I think there is already a lot of money here. It's a part of the Ethereum blockchain. And they're changing the game. Okay. As you can see here. Yeah, look, auto savings. Yeah, this is dope. Once it's out, I'm already in the thing. And it's crazy because you earn. This is wild. This is what I tell people. This is where the economy is going, fam. Your rate goes up off of referrals. Can you believe that? You earn more by referring more people. Oh, is that one of those things? Yes, bro. That's how the economy is going into, because that is the best way to have somebody hop on an app and get it more popular is by incentivizing the customer. That's exactly what Aave is doing. If you have 0 referrals, you get 6.5. If you have 14 referrals, you're going to get 8.5. If you have 24 referrals, you're going to have 9%. If you had $1,000 in 90 days, you've earned, if you put $10,000 in this, when it happens, when it launches, and you have 24 referrals and you get up to 9%, you're going to be earning $220 every 90 days. That's wild. Literally wild. If you had, this is why big money matters. 100,000, 2.2K in 90 days. 1,000, $22. Cool. Right? So these are things that are happening. I love Aave. I'm going to be accumulating a lot more Aave, to be honest. I'm going to make it one of my biggest holdings on top of Chainlink as well. Under $100, fam. Okay? Be patient, but I like under $100. I have a big range because I'm okay with this, just because I know what this can do. It already had a push. It literally went from 75 to like basically touch 400. Okay? I like Aave under $100. Highly recommend to look into it. I think this is going to be a great project. The previous high, fam, okay? This happened without the alt season, okay? That shows me a lot. I think this is like this. Aave is something that I can see definitely breaking all-time highs. But at minimum, all-time highs is 600, 650. From 100 to 650 is like a 6x. Okay. Never seen Gil so giddily. Yeah, it makes me happy. It's the power of referrals, right? It's where the economy is going into. But it obviously gonna manage that. Now, we also have things like Chainlink that we've been talking about. Again, everything's gonna move very similar. I personally see Chainlink going lower. Okay. Um, there's so much money here. Look at this. So much money here. Can this come here? Right? Can it come below this wick? Yes, it can. Right? Can it come into this imbalance? If you know, you know. Look at this. Boom. This is what I want to see. Under $7, steal. But at the same time, I'm looking for structure. All right. You can enter around here and wait for that. But I want to see this. Boom. Boom. This is what I want to see. Put a 9 in the chat for me if this is making sense. This is what I want to see. And we have some time. So again, use this time to take advantage of the trading market for you, right? I don't even think trading crypto right now is too I don't like trading crypto during this time. I like trading crypto during bullishness or bearishness. Mostly bullishness because I'm incentivized, right? Like, oh, things are going up, so I'm trading it. For now, it's a very boring market, guys. Since February 6th, look at this. This is boring. Right? Now, going back into stocks, just to end the session, I think stocks are going to be going down. There's been so much bullishness, manipulation. There's bound to be something happening. So going into the stocks that we've been looking at, I will talk about this real quick. Oh man, Netflix. I talked about this. I've been talking about this on Crypto and Assets, fam. Netflix. Okay, it literally came into our zone and boosted out, and it's wild because I was in North Carolina, and I'm like, bro, like I literally had my entries at like 74, and I missed it by $1. But we were calling this out, fam. If you guys took advantage of this, amazing. I do see there's going to be a retracement, but the reason why this happened with Netflix, and I think this is going to be a huge sleeper, like not even a sleeper, but a huge opportunity with Netflix, is because they did not buy Warner Brothers. They were going to buy Warner Brothers, but Paramount actually did. Okay. And that means they have a lot of money. They have a lot of money available. So that's really good for the books. That's really good for the investors. That's really good for anybody in Netflix. So this is why this took this jump. But I want to see a retracement under $90. In this area, there's a gap. The market likes to fill gaps. Under $90, fam, Netflix is going to be an amazing, amazing opportunity. Okay. Same thing goes with something like actually it's already there right now. Paramount. Paramount saw a huge boost because it's buying Warner Brothers. And look what it did. Up, down, retraced, and now it's gonna gradually go up. And that's exactly what you want to see. I really like Paramount. Could it go lower? It could. There was a lot of money here, but I'm not gonna lie, I like this. I'm gonna start accumulating and looking at this for my stock portfolio as well. But those are the two that I really like right now, as well as Nike. Sorry, Nike. I really like. Consumer-based stocks is something to look into. Target already made its move. Consumer-based, we talked about it under $100. It's already at 117. Nike, I like it. I really do like it. Yeah, honestly, like anytime in this zone, I really like. Can it go lower? Yes, but yeah, like honestly, I really like Nike. Nike is a big one, right? That can do a lot of different things. And then there's a couple other ones that we can go through. Snapchat as well. Just an update. Snapchat is obviously literally the lowest lows. High reward, high risk, high reward type of play. A lot of cool things happening with it, but you can either start executing, right? It's a low stock, or wait for more structure. Can we see this and show us some sort of structure, right? Cool, but I like it. And then same thing with even something like Circle, guys. Circle is basically the owner of USDC, which is the #1 stable coin in the US. They're the company. They saw a huge pump. Okay. This coin just came out last year. IPO, which is the price it came out with, was here. It came below and shot up. So that's what we wanted to see. I personally do like here. I don't know if it's gonna go as low as this, to be honest. But even just using the Fibonacci retracement for circle, 50% is enough. So under $80. Okay. Could it go down here? Yes, but I like under $80. Most of the time when you see a big push like that, it doesn't retrace that much. So here are a couple plays, fam. I hope you guys got some value. You know, put some fire emojis in the chat. If you got some game, yeah, I answered your question, Miss Simple. I love it. Put some fire emojis in the chat. If you got some game, you learned some things. You know, just stay patient right now, fam. You know, accumulate when you see accumulation phases for you. Like I said, take advantage of trading. In my perspective, there's a lot of volatility happening, and there's a lot of volatility that's going to continue to happen. But yeah, fam, with saying that, I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys got some game about everything. If you want to share this to somebody, go ahead and share it. I'm excited for what's to come. Me and John are going to be back together next week. We're going to be going through some more actual training about things in crypto and assets. We have a whole thing planned. Right now, we're just going on tour this whole month. I'll be in Reno in the next two weeks, actually. So if you're in Reno or know somebody in Reno, Nevada, you know, we're going to have an amazing workshop out there. You know, shout out to North California. Yeah, California that just had their workshop. And I'm excited for what's to come within here. Powerhouse, if you do not know what Powerhouse is or what we're about, go ahead and check the channel. You can go ahead and get access to what we have here and have more perspective. And we have exciting things coming for the community. If you're a part of Powerhouse, stay patient. You know, we're actually out here really, really getting things motion. We got exciting things coming. We're always creating. And I'm excited for what's here next for us. So again, with saying that, I appreciate you guys for being on today's session. Excited for what's to come. And I'll see you guys next Saturday at the same time. Actually, it's going to be at 12. Usually these calls are at 12. They're at 1 today, but 12 p.m. CST. Crypto and assets.